There are moments when the silence of night stretches too wide and something within you begins to stir. You feel it most when the edges of waking and dreaming blur, when your body is heavy on the bed, yet your mind drifts into a vastness that feels more real than the physical world. A pull so subtle and strange it cannot be spoken in ordinary words, as if your essence is slipping out of the body like smoke rising from fire, dreamlike and impossible yet undeniable. This is the beginning of what has long been called astral projection. Still many only brush against it without ever naming it. A sudden falling sensation that startles you awake, a dream of flying that lingers longer than any other dream, the vibration humming through your chest that vanishes when your eyes open, all small fragments of a truth deeper than the physical shell you wear, a truth that whispers that you are not confined to the weight of skin and bone. The experience is surreal, a paradox of presence and absence. You feel the air, though you do not breathe it. You see the room, though your eyes remain closed. You are both here and not here, tethered yet untethered. And within that space is a freedom that no word in the waking world can contain. Those who have touched this moment know it well, a memory in the soul that cannot be erased. Yet few dare to speak of it. Fewer still are taught what it means. Modern life silences it, dismisses it, calls it nothing more than dreams. But something ancient in you knows otherwise, something that remembers wandering through spaces of light, stepping beyond the veil of flesh into landscapes woven of frequency and symbol, where thought becomes movement and intention shapes reality. Astral projection is not fantasy, it is remembrance. The pull beyond the body is the invitation. It's a reminder that you are more than the name you carry, more than the body that houses you. And though you may forget in a rush of waking life, the soul remembers. Long before the modern world silenced the unseen and wrapped mystery in the language of superstition, there were cultures that understood the soul as more expansive than the body. They knew that the human spirit could move beyond flesh, could rise beyond the physical plane and travel in spaces woven of light and shadow. To them, astral projection was not a theory nor a forbidden curiosity. It was as natural as breathing, as sacred as prayer. In Egypt, the star maps carved upon temple walls were not only symbols of astronomy, they were guides for the soul's journey beyond the body. The priests spoke of the Ba, the winged soul that could leave the vessel at will, wandering through the stars and returning with knowledge unseen. Their sarcophagi bore inscriptions describing the passage of the spirit into other dimensions, passages written not for myth but for practice, for remembrance. The shamans of ancient tribes understood the same truth through drumming and trance. They slipped into worlds beyond sight, carried by rhythm and intention into realms where they spoke with guides, healed the sick, and retrieved visions for their people. To them, the act of leaving the body was not escape but service, a way of touching wisdom deeper than waking eyes could see, and returning with the gifts for the tribe. In Greece, philosophers whispered of the soul's flight. Plato wrote of the chariot of the spirit. It's an allegory that mirrored the movement of consciousness into higher realms. Pythagoras taught that the soul was capable of rising through layers of reality, like the harmony of tones ascending through an unseen scale. These were not abstractions, but reflections of experiences known to mystics across generations. In India, the yogis spoke of siddhis, abilities that arose when the mind stilled and the breath aligned with subtle energies. Astral travel was among them, seen not as magic, but as the natural flowering of consciousness. The Upanishads told of the soul wandering during sleep, moving into other planes, returning with fragments of memory. Echoing the dreamlike flights we still feel yet seldom understand. These teachings once formed the very foundation of spiritual life. They were carved into temples, sung in hymns, whispered through rituals beneath moonlit skies. They carried the message that you are not bound by matter, that your essence is vast, eternal, and free. But time has a way of erasing or burying what threatens the systems built upon control. As empires rose and religions sought order. The freedom of astral knowledge became a danger. What better way to bind humanity than to teach that the body is the limit, that heaven lies only beyond death, that the unseen belongs only to priests and rulers? Only the language of astral projection was labeled heresy, its practices demonized or dismissed, in some places burned away as forbidden sorcery, in others reduced to superstition, in still others stripped of meaning and buried beneath layers of metaphor. Modern systems of thought carried the erasure further. Science declared the soul a fantasy, dreams nothing more than chemical firings, mystical states reduced to delusion or pathology. The language of consciousness narrowed until only the measurable remained. Yet, even in this silence, the truth lingered, whispered in dreams, carried in visions, surfacing in stories that defied logic but rang with recognition. You may remember moments yourself, the feeling of floating above your body, the sudden fall that pulls you awake, the dream of flight. So vivid it aches with familiarity. These are not accidents, they are fragments of the same knowledge that guided the ancients' memories rising from the deep well of the soul, glimpses of what your ancestors once embraced openly. The forgetting was not complete. It could never be complete, for the soul cannot forget itself. It only waits beneath the surface, waiting for silence, waiting for stillness, waiting for you to notice the subtle pull beyond the skin. Ancient knowledge is not lost, but dormant, hidden in the collective memory, in sacred geometry and forgotten texts, in the patterns of your very breath. And so we stand in a time where remembrance calls again, where the veils that once silenced truth are thinning, where dreams become keys and subtle vibrations stir us awake. To remember astral projection is to remember what the ancients knew, that you are not confined to the body, that you are vast and luminous, that you carry within you the same wisdom carved into temples and sung into stars. The knowledge was forgotten by history, but never by the soul. And now it returns, whispering again in the space between waking and dreaming, reminding you of who you are and what you have always been capable of. Most people believe astral projection is some distant mystical skill to be learned, a secret practice reserved only for sages or monks. Yet, the truth is far gentler, far closer. You have already done it. Perhaps, without even realizing, the signs are scattered across your nights and hidden within your memories. They whisper that the soul has always known how to step beyond the body. It only waits for your awareness to catch up. Think first of the dreams of flight, so vivid they make the heart ache with recognition. You see yourself soaring above landscapes, sometimes places you have never visited, sometimes cities you know, yet appear strangely luminous. These dreams feel more real than waking life. They carry a freedom that lingers in the chest when you wake. Such dreams are not mere inventions of the mind. They are echoes of your astral journeys, the soul remembering how to glide upon unseen currents. Then there are the moments when you awaken with the memory of places that do not exist in the physical world, streets with impossible angles, buildings glowing with colors unknown, conversations with strangers who radiate familiarity, though you cannot name them. You may dismiss them as dreams. Yet, within your heart, you know they hold weight. They feel more solid than fantasy. These are signs that your spirit has wandered into other planes and brought back fragments of its travels. Perhaps you have felt the sensation of floating above your own body. It may come at the edge of sleep. It may come during a nap. Suddenly, you realize you are watching yourself, your form lying still below, while you hover, weightless. Fear or surprise often pulls you back in an instant. Yet the truth is that in that moment, you slipped beyond the veil. You touched the beginning of astral flight. And the memory clings because it is real. Some recall the jolting fall that startles them awake, the body convulsing as though it has caught you midair. This is the classic return of the soul into the vessel, the physical shell pulling spirit back quickly, you may have thought it random. The body twitching without cause. Yet, this is one of the clearest signs that you have left the body and re-entered too suddenly. The fall is not an illusion, but a reunion. There are also those nights where you awaken exhausted, though you slept deeply, or mornings where you rise with a strange knowing, an idea, a vision, a fragment of truth you cannot explain. Your body may have been at rest, but your soul was traveling, gathering knowledge, touching places where energy and wisdom flow. The tiredness comes not from lack of rest, but from journeys unseen. The ideas are not inventions, but messages returned. At times, you may feel a vibration rushing through you as you drift into sleep. A hum, a buzzing, a current moving through your chest or head. It can frighten those who do not understand. Yet this vibration is the threshold. It is the resonance of spirit, loosening its ties to matter. When you feel it, know that you are on the edge of projection. Your soul ready to step into its other body of light. Another sign rests in déjà vu. Those strange flashes where a place or a moment feels hauntingly familiar, though you have never lived it. Some say it is memory from another time, yet often it is memory from astral travel. Your soul walked those streets before, saw that face, stood in that doorway while your body slept, and when you return to the scene in waking life, the recognition surges through you like an echo. Pay attention also to the nights when you dream conversations with those who have passed on. These encounters feel more real than imagination. You awaken with tears or peace or a message too perfect to dismiss. Such moments are not dreams, but meetings in the astral plane, where the soul of the departed still exists, where your spirit can reach across veils and embrace them once more. The reality of these encounters is the certainty they leave in your heart. Have you ever felt pulled from your body during illness or deep exhaustion? A sensation of watching yourself from above, perhaps drifting into a tunnel of light? Some describe this during near-death experiences, but it can happen in softer moments too. The body weak and the spirit ready to loosen. These are unintentional projections, the soul reminding you it is not bound, that even in frailty it remains vast. Children know this truth most clearly. They speak of flying in their dreams, of visiting places with colors too bright for words. They remember with purity what adults forget. Many children experience spontaneous projections, but they are told it is only imagination. Slowly, they silence the truth. Yet, within them, the memory of light and flight remains, and many carry fragments of this into adulthood. Even the creative spark is sometimes a sign. Artists, writers, musicians awaken with visions, sounds, images that feel received rather than invented. They speak of muses, of inspiration from beyond. What if these creations are gifts carried back from astral travels? The spirit wandering in higher planes where beauty flows freely, bringing fragments back into form. And then there are the subtle intuitions, the gut feelings, too precise to be chance, the warnings that come in dreams, and, prove true, the guidance that arises without logic, yet steers you rightly. These two are signs for in-astral journeys. You may glimpse threads of time, probabilities, unfolding the soul-touching wisdom beyond the linear path. When you awaken, the memory lingers as intuition, guiding your waking steps. All these signs speak a quiet truth, that you have already left the body, that your soul remembers how to travel. You do not need to learn from nothing. You need only to remember, to notice the vibrations, the dreams, the visions, the falls, the familiarity of déjà vu, the sudden knowing. Every sign is the soul knocking softly, whispering that you have walked these paths before, that you are ready to walk them again. You are not a beginner. You are a returning traveler. The signs prove it. You have always carried the wings, even when you forgot, even when you doubted. The only task now is to awaken, to open your eyes, not outward, but inward, and to see what has always been true. You are more than body, you are consciousness, and your journeys have already begun. There comes a moment that feels unlike any other. a threshold between body and spirit, a doorway between the weight of matter and the freedom of light. This is the separation, and though many approach it unknowingly, skis, a rhythm, a pattern, a language the soul remembers even when the mind trembles with uncertainty. Often it begins with vibrations, a gentle hum that courses through the body like waves of electricity. It may start faint, like the low ringing of distant bells, and then intensify, filling every cell with resonance. Some describe it as buzzing, others as rushing wind, and for many it arrives with fear, because it feels unfamiliar to the waking mind. Yet these vibrations are not danger, but passage. They are the frequency of spirit loosening its hold on the flesh. Alongside the vibrations comes the sound, a pop, a crack, or the sudden rushing, as though air is moving through unseen corridors. Some hear tones or even voices, not from outside, but from deep within the space where body and spirit meet. These sounds are not hallucinations. They are signals of alignment, the body of light separating itself gently from the dense physical form. In that instant, the soul begins to rise. You may feel pulled upward, as if gravity itself has reversed. Or you may feel as though you are rolling gently out of your body. Some sense floating above, while others slide sideways. The method is not fixed, for every soul carries its own rhythm, yet the essence is the same. The tether loosens, and the consciousness finds itself no longer bound. Fear often interrupts this moment. Seek of realizing you are outside your body pulls you back with a jolt. The heart races, the breath quickens, and the projection collapses. This is why so many brush against astral travel, but dismiss it as a dream or trick of the mind. They do not realize they touched the threshold, that their hesitation called them home before they could see beyond. For those who surrender, the experience deepens. You look down and see your own form lying still, the chest rising and falling, the face calm in sleep. It is strange and holy to gaze upon yourself from outside, the paradox of being both inside and above at once. Some describe the vision as hazy, as though looking through water. Others see with clarity, more vivid than waking sight. Yet, in all cases, the awe is undeniable. The connection remains always a silver cord, often described by mystics, a thread of energy that binds soul to body, shimmering with light indestructible, till death itself severs it. This cord ensures the return. It is why the soul cannot become lost, no matter how far it travels. It remains tethered, always able to be called back. Beyond the body, time shifts, space bends. The astral plane is fluid, and in this first separation, you may find yourself still close to the physical world, hovering in your room, seeing objects with strange clarity or distortion, walls that shimmer, shadows that ripple with energy. The ordinary world takes on a dreamlike glow, for you are seeing not with eyes of flesh, but with the vision of spirit, its perception unbound by physical limits. Sometimes, movement occurs without effort. You think of a place and find yourself there, drawn instantly by intention. This is one of the greatest shocks of the separation moment. To realize, thought becomes travel, emotion becomes gravity. The laws of the astral differ. They obey the frequency of will and awareness. Others encounter presences, guides, or energies at the moment of separation. Some appear as figures of light, some as shadows that test the traveler's fear. This is not to harm, but to reflect. For the astral mirrors your inner state. If you rise with fear, fear shapes the environment. If you rise with trust, light floods the space. The separation is not just a passage. It is a revelation of the soul's vibration. There is also the strange sense of dual awareness, part of you still tethered to the body, hearing the rhythm of breath, the faint sounds of the physical room, while another part drifts free, seeing from above, exploring, feeling weightless. This duality can be overwhelming, yet it reveals a profound truth. You are not the body, okay? You are the consciousness that inhabits it. and you can exist beyond it. The return, too, carries its own signature, a sudden pull. As though drawn back by unseen hands, you may feel yourself falling rapidly into your body, or hear the pop once more as spirit and matter rejoin. Sometimes it is gentle, like slipping into warmth. Other times, abrupt, like crashing back into density. The heart may race, the limbs may twitch, but the memory remains, and with it, the certainty that what you touched was real. Those who experience the separation moment often describe a transformation. Even if brief, even if accidental, it shifts perspective. It plants a seed. For once you have seen yourself from outside. Once you have felt the freedom of slipping beyond form, you cannot unknow it. The memory may fade like a dream, yet it lingers deep within, whispering that you are more, far more than you ever believed. The separation is not a final destination, but a threshold, the first step into a vast and layered realm. It is both initiation and reminder. Initiation because it marks the awakening of the traveler. Reminder because the soul has always known this journey. It is the body and mind that must catch up. To remember what was never truly forgotten in this sacred moment, when vibrations hum, when the cord glows, when the body lies still and the soul drifts free, you are given a glimpse of truth that you are eternal, that you are not contained by flesh or time, that within you lives a light capable of traveling across planes unseen, and that the separation is not escape, but reunion with your true self. The mystery of astral projection has lingered for centuries in silence, whispered in temples, guarded in secret schools, buried in the language of symbols and myths, rarely spoken in open daylight. One might ask why, if the human soul has always been capable of leaving the body, if this journey belongs naturally to our being, then why is it not taught? Why is it not spoken of in every classroom, every home, every faith? The answer rests in the nature of power. For astral projection is freedom, and freedom threatens all systems built upon control. The moment a soul realizes it is not confined to the flesh, not chained to the laws of matter, not bound by the fears of death, then the authority of those who govern through fear begins to crumble. Rulers, institutions, and structures of control have long known this truth. To awaken people to their vastness is to lose the ability to confine them in ancient times. This knowledge was revered. Ancient belonged to priests, shamans, mystics, those who stood between worlds, guiding their people through dream and vision. Yet, as empires rose, as systems of dominance spread, the sacred was slowly hidden. Spiritual truths became guarded secrets, reserved for elites or encoded in rituals no longer understood by the masses. The common soul was told to fear, to obey, to look outward for salvation, rather than inward for truth. Religions that once celebrated the journey of the soul began to veil it. Some doctrines spoke of heavens and hells, but left out the keys to experience them directly. For if the people could journey for themselves, they would not need the intermediaries. They would not bow to gatekeepers. They would taste the divine directly. And that was too dangerous for structures built on obedience. Even in more modern times, the rise of materialism buried the astral further. Science declared what cannot be measured does not exist. And so, dreams were called random firings of neurons, visions dismissed as illusions, out-of-body experiences labeled hallucinations. In this way, the modern mind was cut off from the vastness of its own spirit, trained to believe only in matter, only in what can be touched and weighed. Yet beneath this dismissal lingers fear. For if consciousness can exist outside the brain, then all foundations of power must shift. Education, too, plays its role. Children are rarely told that they are more than their bodies. Instead, they are trained to measure, calculate, repeat, to see themselves as flesh bound to time, mortality, and function. Imagination is called fantasy. Intuition is ignored, and the memory of astral freedom slowly dims. Yet some children resist, They dream of flying. They feel presences. They know more than they are told. But the system teaches them to forget. Governments and institutions of control understand that when a person knows, their soul cannot be bound. They cannot be manipulated in the same way. Fear of death loses its grip. Material possessions lose their hold. Authority loses its absolute sway. This is why the teaching of astral travel has been shrouded, silenced, or framed as myth, for it is dangerous knowledge. Dangerous not because it harms, but because it liberates. The suppression also comes from misunderstanding, for astral projection is not merely mystical, but deeply personal. It requires inner clarity, emotional strength, and alignment of intention. Without guidance, it can be misinterpreted, feared, or trivialized. So some traditions chose to guard it, to protect it, fearing that misuse or shallow curiosity would distort its truth. Yet in hiding it, they also denied humanity its birthright. There is also the quiet resistance of the ego. The human mind clings to certainty, to boundaries. It's two definitions of self as body and thought. To teach astral projection openly would mean teaching dissolution, teaching that the self you cling to is not final, and the ego fears this. It resists what expands beyond control. So even within individuals, the knowledge is suppressed, forgotten, hidden in dreams that go unspoken. But history leaves traces. The symbols of astral travel appear everywhere, in winged beings carved in stone, in stories of shamans flying to the spirit world, in visions of prophets rising beyond the earth, in the mythologies of Egypt, Sumer, India, and beyond. Each culture encoded the journey in its language. Yet, over time, the meanings were obscured, the keys scattered, waiting for those who feel the call to piece them back together. In truth, the reason this is not taught is both external and internal. Externally, because systems of power wish to maintain control. Internally, because humanity itself has chosen to forget in order to learn the lesson of rediscovery. Forgetting allows awakening to feel profound. The act of remembering is the spark that ignites transformation. Yet the silence is breaking. More people speak of near-death experiences, of lucid dreams, of moments where they float beyond their bodies. More scientists whisper about consciousness beyond matter. More seekers yearn for direct knowledge rather than second-hand belief. The suppression is failing because the soul cannot be contained forever. The collective memory stirs. The inner pool grows. The question of why this is not taught reveals the deeper truth that what is hidden cannot stay hidden. That the soul remembers even when the world tells it to forget. That the knowledge lives in dreams, in vibrations, in whispers that rise when the night grows still. The silence of the outer world cannot erase the voice of the inner. And so those who listen will find their way, regardless of suppression, regardless of denial. The journey is your inheritance, not a privilege, not a secret for the few. It was never meant to be erased, and though history has hidden it, those systems have silenced it. The truth of your being waits patiently, for the body is not a prison, the soul is not bound, and the door to the astral has never been locked. It has only been covered, waiting for you to lift the veil and see. When we speak of astral projection, many imagine it as something mystical, beyond the grasp of reason. Yet hidden within the language of science, there are mirrors, reflections of the same truths spoken by sages for centuries. Though the language differs, the essence is shared. For both science and mysticism seek to understand what is real, what is beyond illusion, and what is the nature of the self. At the heart of science rests the study of energy, matter, and vibration, and here lies the bridge. The human body is energy, every cell vibrating, every atom humming with movement. Physics tells us that the material world is not solid, but a dance of particles, a field of probabilities, forms arising and dissolving within waves. In the soul, the consciousness exists not as a weight, but as a frequency, a subtle vibration resonating through this field. Quantum physics has revealed that observation itself shapes reality. The observer influences the outcome, consciousness cannot be excluded from the experiment. And so, a question emerges. If the mind shapes the field, then what is the mind? Is it simply the brain's product? Or is the brain only a receiver, a tuning instrument catching a greater, please, like a radio tuned to a signal already surrounding it? Many seekers believe the brain is not the origin of consciousness, but the vessel through which consciousness enters the body. Astral projection can be understood through this lens, for if consciousness is not confined to the brain, then it can shift its focus. It can expand, separate, move through layers of frequency, just as a radio dial moves from one station to another. The soul can adjust, leaving the dense vibration of the physical and entering subtler layers. Dimensions that exist side by side, yet invisible to ordinary eyes. Neuroscience, too, reveals fragments. During sleep, the brain enters states of deep rhythm. Theta and delta waves, frequencies that open the door to dream and vision, yet in states between waking and sleep. The hypnagogic state. The mind hovers between worlds. Here, vibrations surge. Here, separation often occurs. Science measures the brain waves, but mysticism explains their purpose. They are thresholds, tuning states for the soul to step beyond. Some researchers studying near-death experiences report striking consistencies, tunnels of light, sensations of floating meetings with beings of energy, memories more vivid than dreams. Science cannot dismiss the uniformity of these accounts. They suggest that consciousness survives outside the body, that the mind does not die with the flesh and astral. Projection may be a gentler cousin of this same truth, a conscious rehearsal for what the soul already knows. Frequency and resonance also play their role. Sound and vibration influence the body and mind. Certain tones, chants, or binaural beats can induce altered states, creating the resonance needed to shift awareness beyond matter. Mystics have long used sound, mantra, and rhythm to align their vibration. Science now studies how frequencies alter brain patterns. But the deeper truth is that frequency is the language of the universe, and astral projection is a shift of frequency, a retuning of the soul. The holographic theory of the universe adds another layer, suggesting that reality itself may be a projection. Every part containing the whole, consciousness interacting with a field where all information is stored. This mirrors ancient teachings of the Akashic Records, the library of soul memory. If the universe is holographic, then astral projection is simply consciousness accessing another layer of the projection, stepping outside the narrow frame of waking life and seeing the broader pattern. Entanglement to whispers of soul travel particles linked across space respond instantly to each other. Distance means nothing. Connection defies time. The soul, in its essence, is entangled with the greater field. It can move beyond the body because it was never truly confined. It is already connected everywhere. Projection is not movement through space, but a shift of awareness within the entangled web. Psychology also sheds light. Carl Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, a realm of symbols and archetypes shared across humanity. Dreams are the doorway to this realm, but astral travel may be its deeper counterpart. Stepping into the field where these archetypes live, where symbols breathe, where the soul encounters aspects of itself and reflections of the collective. Modern psychology may call it the subconscious, mysticism calls it the astral, yet both point to the same inner universe. Skeptics dismiss astral projection as hallucination, yet hallucination implies a break from reality. While projection often brings knowledge, wisdom, even healing, things hallucination cannot provide. Science struggles because it seeks external measurement, yet projection is internal exploration, subjective yet consistent across countless people. The repetition of patterns, the recurrence of symbols, the echoes of truth that transcend culture and belief suggest that it is more than imagination. Consider too the studies on remote viewing, where individuals describe distant locations or events with accuracy. Even under controlled experiments, Such abilities suggest that consciousness can extend beyond space and time. This is not far from astral travel. It is another form of consciousness leaving the body's limits, touching reality from another angle and returning with memory. The science is not complete. It may never be, because the soul cannot be fully dissected by instruments, yet the fragments, like quantum theory, neuroscience, resonance, holography, psychology, all hint at the same truth that reality is layered, that consciousness is vast, that the human being is not confined to flesh, but woven into a greater fabric. Astral projection sits at the intersection, not opposed to science, but extending beyond it, not rejecting reason, but expanding its frame. It reminds us that the mystical and the measurable are not enemies. They are mirrors, both seeking to describe the same ocean. One with equations, the other with symbols. One with experiments, the other with experience. The science behind astral projection is not proof in the narrow sense, but resonance, a harmony between what the mystics saw in vision and what physicists glimpse in equations. It tells us that separation of body and soul is not fantasy, but possibility woven into the very nature of consciousness. That the universe itself is designed to allow awareness to move, to expand, to remember. And so science, though incomplete, whispers agreement with spirit. The vibrations, the frequencies, the patterns of mind and matter all point to the same hidden door. A door we are learning to see not as imagination, but as the true nature of who we are. There are moments when a truth does not arrive through books, theories, or teachings. It arrives through the lived experience of another soul who has walked ahead, stumbled into the unseen, and returned with whispers of something more. Stories of astral awakening carry a different weight. They are not hypotheses or abstract concepts, but living testaments etched into memory with a vividness that does not fade. Many who have brushed against the edge of the astral plane speak of it not as imagination, but as an encounter too real to deny, too profound to forget. One woman recalls lying in her bed, restless but calm, when a low hum grew within her body. At first, she thought it was the pounding of her heartbeat, but soon it became something more, waves of vibration that surged through her being. She felt herself lift, not with effort, but with release, as though gravity had let her go. Looking down, she saw her body lying beneath her, peaceful and still. Fear rushed in, but it was matched with awe. And then something extraordinary happened. She floated through her ceiling as easily as one moves through water, carried into a night sky brighter and clearer than any she had seen before. She did not journey far that night, but she returned with the conviction she could never abandon. She was not confined to flesh. Another account comes from a man who had long studied meditation, but never expected more than moments of inner peace. One evening, in deep stillness, he felt himself pulled sideways, as though slipping through an unseen doorway. What greeted him was a place that felt both strange and familiar, garden of light, alive and pulsing, where color spoke and silence sang. He later described it as the memory of home, a dimension beyond time where the soul remembers its origin. His return was sudden, yet the impact lingered. He no longer feared death, for he had seen that consciousness does not end. There are also those whose journeys begin in dreams, only to awaken into a new layer of awareness. A young seeker spoke of recurring dreams where she flew effortlessly above oceans and cities. At first, she dismissed them as fantasies, but the sensations, the rush of wind, the weightless freedom were too precise. One night, she chose to remain lucid, focusing her intention as she soared. The dream shifted, the sky opened, and she realized she was no longer dreaming at all. She was traveling, wide awake, across dimensions that her waking mind had never imagined. It was then she understood. Her soul had been practicing, guiding her to remember. These stories, though different in form, share a common thread. They awaken something dormant. They remind us that astral projection, is not reserved for mystics or sages, but is a natural ability waiting within every human being. It often begins unexpectedly in moments of surrender, trauma, deep meditation, or even sheer curiosity. And while the journeys vary, the result is the same, a transformation of perspective. To touch the astral is to see that we are more than bodies, more than thoughts, more than the fleeting patterns of daily life. Awakening through astral travel is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is subtle, unfolding slowly through synchronicities, heightened intuition, or an unshakable sense that there is more to reality than meets the eye. But for those who have crossed that threshold, even once, life is forever changed. They no longer live bound by the narrow cage of physical existence. They carry the memory of flight, the certainty of infinity, and the knowledge that consciousness is vast, uncontainable, and eternal. If separation is the doorway, then intention is the compass. In the astral world, there are no maps, no roads, no signposts carved in stone. Movement is not dictated by the laws of gravity or the weight of the body, is shaped by the current of thought, the spark of desire, the purity of will. Where the mind focuses, the soul flows. It is not the frantic thought that pulls you across dimensions, but the steady flame of inner clarity, the quiet but unwavering intention that directs your being beyond the veil. Many who wander without intention find themselves adrift, caught in landscapes that mirror their inner chaos. Fear creates shadows, doubt breeds distortion, confusion summons empty echoes. The astral is not a stage outside of you yet. It's a mirror that reflects your state of consciousness with startling precision. If you rise with fear, you may encounter fearful visions. If you rise with wonder, you may discover realms radiant with beauty. Intention is the alchemy that transforms the experience, turning the unknown from a wilderness into a pathway. Consider those who travel with the simple wish to fly. Their journeys are light, dreamlike, carried on winds of freedom and exhilaration. But for those who set deeper intentions, healing, guidance, the search for truth or astral responds in kind, unfolding layers of wisdom that the waking mind cannot access. Some describe meeting luminous presences who offer counsel. Others find themselves drawn to spaces where ancient memories are stored, where the soul remembers fragments of lives lived long before. Intention does not require force. It is not the demand of the ego, but the whisper of the soul. The most profound travels often begin with a gentle asking, "Show me what I need to see. Lead me where I am ready to go." Such openness allows the astral to guide rather than be controlled, creating a dance between the will of the traveler and the intelligence of the greater field of consciousness. Clarity matters. A scattered mind produces scattered landscapes, but a heart aligned with purpose can move with elegance across realms. This is why those who practice meditation, who still their thoughts and refine their focus, often find their astral journeys more vivid, more coherent, more transformative. Their intention becomes like an aeronaut, rigid, but precise, piercing through veils into the spaces they are ready to explore. There are stories of seekers who used intention to heal parts of themselves long ignored. One woman, struggling with grief, asked to be guided to her departed father. Her intention carried her beyond the familiar, into a space of luminous warmth where she felt his presence embrace her once again. She did not cling or control, she simply opened. The encounter healed something words never could. Another traveler, yearning for wisdom, set his intention to understand the nature of his life's path. He found himself standing before a vast hall of records, walls inscribed with living light, where the story of his soul stretched across lifetimes. He returned, not with all the answers, but with a deep sense of direction that shaped his choices in the waking world. Intention, then, is not only about what you seek in the astrolabe, it's also about who you become in the process. To hold intention with purity is to align with the deeper current of your own being, the higher self that already knows where to go. It is to surrender the noise of doubt and listen instead to the still, unwavering pulse of truth that beats within you. Okay? In this way, every astral journey is also a lesson in creation. You learn that thought shapes experience, that inner state molds outer reality. Would you practice beyond the body mirrors? Would you live within it? The astral becomes a teacher, showing you the raw mechanics of consciousness itself. Intention shapes reality, both there and here. To enter the astral without intention is to drift. To enter with intention is to awaken. And the more you practice, the more you realize that the true journey is not about traveling outward into infinite realms. It is about traveling inward into the clarity of your own soul and allowing that clarity to guide you through the vastness of creation. The astral world is not an empty stage, but a vast and living ocean of layers, each ripple containing mysteries that the waking mind can scarcely comprehend. When you separate from the body, you not simply floating in void, you are stepping into a spectrum of dimensions that exist alongside this one, woven through it like unseen threads of light. And what you discover there depends not only on where you go, but who you are, what you carry, and what you are ready to see. For many, the first discovery is freedom, the simple yet overwhelming realization that they are more than a body bound by gravity. To feel the air move beneath you as you rise, to soar through landscapes of dreamlike beauty, to drift above oceans that shimmer with colors unknown on earth. This alone is a revelation. It is a reminder of your soul's natural state, weightless, unbound, eternal. But beyond the joy of flight lies deeper treasure in the astral. You may encounter guides, luminous presences who speak not in words but in vibrations. They do not command or control, they illuminate, appearing in forms. Your soul recognizes an elder, a radiant being, a loved one long departed. They offer fragments of wisdom, comfort in times of sorrow, clarity when your path feels lost. These encounters are not fantasies, but reflections of a higher intelligence that moves through the astral like a current, waiting for you to tune into its frequency. There are also spaces of profound healing, places where energy flows in rivers of light, where the vibrations of sound and color weave through your being, cleansing and restoring what has grown heavy in the physical. Many return from these journeys feeling lighter, as though something invisible yet burdensome has been lifted. It is as if the astral body absorbs and transmits healing frequencies that ripple into the waking body, reminding you that health begins in the subtle layers of existence long before it reaches the flesh. And then there are the records, what many traditions call the Akashic field, an infinite library not of books but of living patterns of light. Within it resides the memory of every soul, every thought, every unfolding of creation. To step into this field is to be enveloped in a sea of knowing. Some see vast halls of crystalline structures, others perceive waves of symbols, flowing like music across the fabric of space. Here you may glimpse fragments of your soul's story, its lifetimes that shaped the essence you now carry, choices and lessons stretching across timelines like constellations. The astral is also a mirror showing you hidden parts of yourself. Sometimes you walk into landscapes that reflect your inner fears, your unspoken wounds, the shadows you avoid. This too is a discovery, for facing these visions offers a chance to transform them, to reclaim power. Where fear once lingered in this way, the astral becomes both a sanctuary and a teacher, guiding you not only outward but inward into the depths of your own psyche. There are travelers who describe realms of sound choirs, a vibration that seem to hold the structure of creation itself. Others speak of sacred geometries, vast rotating forms that pulse with intelligence, as if the architecture of the universe were made visible. These encounters are not random. They are invitations to remember the language of the soul, the blueprint of existence encoded in frequency and form. And yet, for all its wonders, the astral does not overwhelm unless you are ready. It meets you where you are, offering glimpses suited to your intention, to your readiness, to your openness. No two journeys are the same, for the astral is as infinite as the souls who enter it. What you can discover out there is not only new realms, but new versions of yourself, the healer, the seeker, the child of wonder, the timeless traveler, the soul that remembers when you return to the body. You carry these discoveries within you, not as distant dreams, but as seeds planted in the soil of your waking life, seeds that will grow into wisdom, courage, and deeper love for the mystery of being alive. For the astral is not apart from life. It is life magnified. It is the reflection of what already exists within you, waiting to be seen, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be lived. When the journey is complete and the soul drifts back into the body, there is always a quiet moment, a pause, as if two worlds overlap for a breath of time. The weight of flesh returns. The pull of gravity reclaims its hold. Yet something remains, a lingering light, a memory that whispers, "You are not only this body, you are more." Astral travel reveals what the waking mind forgets, that the self is not confined to skin or bone, not locked within the boundaries of time. The soul stretches beyond, infinite and luminous, flowing through layers of existence like a river without end. Each separation, each vision, each step into the unseen is not an escape from life, but a return to truth, a reminder of who you have always been. You are the dreamer and the dream, the traveler and the path, the question and the answer. You are the echo of ancient lifetimes and the seed of futures yet to unfold. You are a fragment of the divine blueprint, a note in the great song of creation. When you rise beyond a body, you glimpse this vastness. But even when you descend back into the body, that vastness does not leave you. It lives within. The body is sacred, yes. It is the vessel through which you experience this dimension. It's the ground where lessons take root, but it is not the totality of who you are. You are not a prisoner inside flesh. You are a soul wearing a garment, and garments can change, can shift, can dissolve. The essence remains untouched, eternal whole. To remember this is to awaken, to walk in the world with a lighter heart, no longer bound by the illusion of limitation, no longer chained to the fear of endings, for how can there be an ending to what is infinite? Astral projection does not give you something new. It restores what you already carried, the knowing that you are vast, multidimensional, timeless. And so, the greatest discovery in the astral is not the landscapes, not the guides, not even the records of lifetimes. It is the rediscovery of self. The realization that the same soul that soars through radiant skies, that walks through halls of light, that listens to the voice of the infinite, is the same soul that looks through your eyes in this moment. The same soul that breathes through your chest. You are more than a body. You are more than a fleeting life. You are the silence behind thought, the awareness behind dreams, the eternal traveler moving through dimensions without beginning and without end. And to know this not as belief, but as living memories, to awaken to the truth that you have never been small. You have never been lost. You have always been infinite.